Jonah, how's fall camp going for you?
Great. I'm having a good camp. Enjoying it a lot. Enjoying being with my teammates. It's been really good.
What's the difference between this camp and kind of the last few you've been in?
I've been through a lot of camps. I think this camp has been great in the sense that Coach Traylor is really, he's been really intentional. Intentional in the way that it's not just like about them in the sense that like they need to get all their plays in and see all the looks and give us all the things that we need to see or they need to see. It's been on the side of like they need to give us like all the things and all the tools that we need to be ready for these first 3 weeks, right? And I think this camp has just been a lot. It's just been holistic in the sense that it's given us all the tools to be ready, really, especially in the sense of endurance. That's been a really big thing, especially because it's gonna be hot, right? So,
what has it been like for you having the opportunity to be, getting more first team reps and competing for the starting job? What does that part mean to you?
I mean everything, right? I do this not just because I'm good at it, because I love the game, and being able to be out there with Owen and them to me means like everything. It's awesome.
And this being your last college season, do you kind of put pressure on yourself to earn that spot or to make sure you make the most of this year, or how do you view that?
In JUCO, I had a lot of pressure on myself, and it got to the point where it's just too much anxiety and just too much pressure. And so I did a lot of work on just being able to just understand that you can't control everything, right? And that's one of the things that Coach Traylor says is that control what you can control, right? And I think a thing for me is that if I just keep my head on my shoulders and I just do what I do, what I've been doing for 15 years, I'll be good.
You have a really interesting background. If I understand right, you were highly recruited, signed at Oregon, and then there was a stomach parasite that became an issue. What happened?
So shortly before Oregon, I went out of the country with my family, and it was to Cabo. And you get a lot of rhetoric about not drinking the tap water there and not eating the food outside of the resort. And me and my brothers had a lot of fun, right? And it's a laughing matter then, but it was one of those things that I just had no clue about, right? I went to Oregon probably at 310, and then the weight just started to shave off because originally in high school at my highest I was 370. And you guys can watch the film. I used to move pretty good, right? And it was daunting because like I just thought I was growing up. I was losing weight like 10 pounds every week at some points, and I was putting in like 7,000 calories every day. And it was a thing at Oregon where, they just didn't think I was eating enough. And so, that part of my journey led me to JUCO, and where I took a visit at Kaiser Permanente. There I got a holistic sort of, scan there, and they figured out that's what was the problem was a bowel issue. So I had a procedure where they went in and sort of I think it was like they froze it, and then I had to sort of pass it with antibiotics as well. And it was tough because, you get to the top, not the top, right? But you get to a point where you think, you can start growing. And I thought it was my fault the whole time, but it was one of those things that, like I go back to, you can't control everything, right? And so JUCO was one of those things that I think I just really built myself back up.
So you spent the whole fall at Oregon before you realized that was an issue?
Well, no, I spent the whole year at Oregon knowing before that was the issue. I left in the spring after the landing staff had turned me into a D-end and sort of like a tight end special teams player. And then transferred to Santa Rosa, and that's when I had that doctor appointment.
So what is the feeling like to realize you've been going through that for, I guess, close to a year at that point?
That's why I put so much weight on that time in JUCO, because I feel like I became a man there, right? It was one of those things that, I always tell my teammates, like, I've been given everything. Like, my dad, my mom, my stepmom, I've never wanted for anything, right? And so a lot of my adversity came from that time. And it was just one of those things that's where you become an adult, right? You can either, accept what you're going to accept and, go sell houses or, get into finance, or you can start eating more and get yourself right. And, one of the things that I always tell my teammates is that my technique definitely got so much more crisp in JUCO because I was playing at 240. So it's one of the things I always tell them that, if you're lighter, just keep eating because that technique will help you when you get heavier.
What was the process like of trying to put that weight back on once you got to JUCO?
So once I was clear of the parasite in my stomach, it actually was one of those things that like 20 pounds it immediately came down onto me. I came into Santa Rosa Junior College around 245, and it was a really big thing for me and my dad. Right, my dad's my hero because he's done so much for me, as well as my mom. Right. But my dad was who I lived with in JUCO, as well as my stepmom. And every day it was a fight to just get over 5,000 calories because I knew I was going to lose around 3,000 to 4,000 at practice, right? And I carried that here, and it definitely made it easier because of the resources here, the amazing nutrition staff we have. And I'm always on my guys, some of the younger guys who are lighter. I'm just like, if you get breakfast in, you're going to be good. And then after practice, if you just get 2 fat meals in, you can get two meals, 2,000 calories, there's your 5,000 right there. So I think it's just been a thing about intentionality and just, making sure that my routine's right. Because if I start the day out the same every day, I know I'm going to be good.
What was the lowest that you got weight-wise?
225. I had a little 4-pack going. It was nice.
Where you at now?
295.
Is that where you want to play, you think, or?
No. I'll probably balloon up a little bit after fall camp, but back up to 305. That's what I entered the camp at. So, and what I want to end the season at is probably around 315, 320, and that'll be easier with all the food we get during the week.
Has it been kind of a gradual process every year to put weight on, or did it really get, once you get here, did it make a big difference?
So, I was I don't want to, put on the facade that I'm, the nutrition guru, but I was very intentional about my weight. I wasn't going to put on 35 pounds all in one off season because I didn't want to go out there and tear something. And that's another thing that was very intentional about, is just like making sure I'm limber, right? And making sure that like in those positions that I get in a lot, especially as an O-lineman, that I would not get hurt, right? And being too heavy would be a part of that. And so, I was intentional about being strong too. And I think I've been, pretty good about it, to where I've reached a good point where I can keep kind of stacking on the 10 to 15 pounds each time, every like 3 or 4 months, right?
And you had a finger injury in junior college as well.
Yeah.
What was that?
Finger injuries.
Really?
So the ring finger was in JUCO, and that's where I snapped it backwards. And one of the things that I regret about that one was on the field, I didn't even let anyone see it. I snapped it back. And I kept playing, and it kept getting worse. And it got to the point, my dad was coaching me in JUCO, and he knew the stakes of everything, right? Like, if I miss a game, I might not get an offer, right? And this thing would be over, right? And I'm an O-lineman, so went up to him, didn't go to the trainers, and he snapped it back for the last time and taped it up, and I finished that game. That was the 3rd game in JUCO, and after that, went to the doctor, got x-rays, got MRI. Became evident it was really bad. And it was sadly season ending, and I get a little bit start breathing in air right there because I really care about that team. And that second season was a lot for me in the sense that I had done a lot of work with that O-line in the summer, in the spring, and it for lack of a better word, broke my heart because I wanted to be out there and really wanted to get a winning season under Santa Rosa's belt. But, if you look at their history, it's been a tough past 10 years, and so it was one of those things for me that I really wanted to lead those guys to a winning season. Didn't end up. I went immediately into rehab and understood that it was I think it was a 9-week recovery, way past our season. So I took a coaching role, right? Our coach Mitch Reed at the time O-line there at Santa Rosa, I just kind of was at his hip with my dad. And we kind of just, those guys who were technically just not there, I spent a lot of time with them. And it was something that helped me as well, because it kept me around the game. And, I'd be in the box as well with our offensive coordinator during games, during home games. And I went to 2 of the away games as well, because I was like, why not, right? But, yeah, the finger injuries is tough, because that's O-line, right? And like today, I had an instance where my hand got caught over here, and I'm just like, we're good. And then is the next one probably about my index finger, correct?
Well, I hadn't seen that one. I only heard that there was one.
Yeah, that one was last year, which is interesting compared to where you are in life, right? This one happened, it was worse. I shattered this one completely, the bone right here, and they had to throw in bars, I think it was 4 bars, going in here, from the side, and then vertically down. And I had a whole club in my hand for so let me back it up. Last year, I'll go over all the injury stuff just to get it out of the way. Last year, going into fall camp after my best spring ever, I think it was my right bilateral meniscus I tore. So it's not the meniscus itself, it's what keeps the meniscus in place. Tore that, and that was a month before fall camp. And this was in the middle of summer, right before July 4th. And so I got surgery the next day, and the next day I was in rehab because I had dealt with a meniscus surgery at Oregon. And so I knew the rehab, and I knew meniscus is one of those things that if you get going and you get moving, it's going to be a lot easier. So I worked every morning. I got here at 6 with Sam, who's now a head trainer at New Mexico. I owe a lot to him, because he was the one that, those days when I wasn't, 100%, he was that other, 30 or 10%, right? And I was super intentional at getting back so I could be back at fall camp. And I was. And so I got back the first real padded day of fall camp, and we ran pods. And I come in on a tight end block, and I twist, because I always twist, right? Come off to the second level. And my brain's telling me just to hit this guy with one hand. I look down, my fingers, again, pointing at me. And it's almost like comical, like both happened up, right, pointing at me. And this one was a little bit different because I was, I'm not gonna crack it back myself. I went to Coach Traylor. He looked at it. He's like, that's not good. Go see Sam. I went to Sam. Sam cracked it back, got it in, and I went down like this, and it hurt a lot. But I'm an offensive lineman, so I taped it up and I continued to finish practice. And it was one of those things that when they used our preliminary x-ray machine, we saw it, and it was a lot of damage, right? And that's one of those things that, when you train pain and you train powering through it, you kind of lose sight of, the severity of things sometimes, right? So that was crushing, right, for lack of a better word, but I went straight into rehab, right? I got surgery the next day, got those bars, which I was speaking of, and it was, I think, until about game 4 that I got the bars out, and then it was just a fight on when can I go out there. They had to wait for the holes to heal up completely, and once that was done, I knew I was going to be in a cast, but they also added a hood over it, which was interesting. And so it's a very heavy thing that I had on my hand, and it became a thing where I was like, well, I might as well use it, right? And so I would punch very hard with it, and it worked out pretty well in the games that I played in. I think the game that I really used it in was the ECU game when Kamara went down, which he had a nice 2 drives with the Raiders today, or the other day. It was nice to watch. And I just used it as a weapon. That's all I really knew to do, right? And it was one of those things that I'm not gonna go down, right? That was one of they asked me, it's like, do you want to go back out right now? You can just let it heal and just not, I'm like, no. Like I'm here to do this, right? I'm gonna get my degree in December, and this is all I have left, right? In the sense that, like, I love this stuff, right? I got a plan B, but plan A is what I got, until, the wheels fall off completely.
When you think about all the different hurdles that you've gone through in your career, did you ever doubt if plan A would come together, or were there moments that you thought about hanging it up?
There's a lot of rhetoric about, to be a great athlete, you gotta be kind of crazy and almost kind of just believe in what is just kind of impossible sometimes. And I always look back and I realized in some of the situations I was in, I was like, damn, or excuse my language, I was like, dang, I made it out of that, in the sense of, like, I, could have been selling houses or something like that. I keep mentioning that, that was my plan B, right? But, looking back, I think if you just keep your head up, things are just going to be way easier, no matter what.
Thank you, Jonah.
Cool. Thank
Yeah,
you.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Nice